presented papers and delivered lectures at at various professional forums like Institute of Chartered Accountants, GSTPM, Vidarbha Tax Practitioners, Sales Tax Bar Association,
Anvi.
WIRC, etc. Regarding his GST front, he has written various articles on GST in various national and local publications. He has delivered more than 300 talks on GST and indirect taxation in various forums. He is identified at GST faculty by ICAI. He is a member of Indirect Tax Committee of WIRC for the year 2017, 18 and 18-19. He has represented many matters and issues to GST Council for changes to make GST a good and a simple tax. Most of the suggestions have been accepted by the council and changes made accordingly. With this, I request Ritesh Mehta to start the online lectures. Thank you.
Dinesh ji, Ritesh ji, before that I am muting all. So you are requested to unmute yourself so that there will not be any disturbance. I am muting all, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening, all of you.
Yeah, good evening.
The leader of the association, President Dinesh Tambre ji, as I said, I am watching him last 20 days, 25 days, working day in, day out, organizing a lot of webinars, and even now doing a social responsibility by arranging PPE kits, which is really a noble cause. So, President Dinesh ji, the chocolate boy of the association, and the coordinators, Sunil ji, Mahesh ji, who are working very hard to make this coaching, online coaching, a success. So thank you very much to all of you for inviting me and making me also a part of this grand initiative of online coaching of GSTPM. And I always feel privileged to be part of this association, this Apex Association, having so many practitioners, advocates, chartered accountants as a member of this great association. Today, I will be discussing, I hope, just a minute, let me share my screen first. Okay. So the screen is visible?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you. So friends, today we will be discussing in the allotted time, which is very short time, 45-50 minutes has been allotted to me, and the topic given is very vast, that is reverse charge mechanism under GST and the composition levy. So we will be trying to do justice with these two topics, though I personally feel RCM is a very important topic, and we are facing a lot of issues, lot of challenges dealing with RCM. As far as composition levy is concerned, we still have a good command, we are managing it very well, but a lot of practitioners are having problem under reverse charge mechanism, and I think this is what we will be focusing today. So my topics which I will be covering in a short time will be brief background of reverse charge mechanism. We will be also going through the relevant notifications which have been issued under this reverse charge mechanism. Along with, there are a few exemptions, particularly with all those entries of reverse charge notifications. So we will be looking through those exemptions as well. Then reverse charge on unregistered supplies, we will be touching that part also. Then we will be taking up issues under reverse charge mechanism. There are a lot of issues, how the credit will be available, when will the credit be available, self-invoicing, and many issues are there under reverse charge. We will be taking it one after another. And finally, we will be talking about composition levy under GST. So this is how we will proceed. And question answers, if you have any, keep it parked with you. We will take it up at the end of the session once the presentation is done, so that we can take up the questions one by one. So friends, let us go into the brief history. The reverse charge mechanism is not a new concept to all of us. The practitioners who are practicing on service tax are very well aware of this provision of reverse charge mechanism. Initially, it was brought in Finance Act 96, though it was brought, but the levy was not there in the law, and that's it was struck down by the Apex Court in Raghu Udyog Bharti case, where the Apex Court has held that service provider was liable to pay service tax and not the service recipient. So the lesson was learned by the government, and again it was reintroduced in 2004, where the section 68 of Finance Act was amended, wherein the levy was fixed on the service recipient as well. Like we have the charging section under GST section 9 and section 7 Section 5 of IGST, Section 9 of CGST. The charging should be there, the levy should be there fixed on the service recipient, then only the levy will test the stand of law. So again, it was introduced in 2004 when P. Chidambaram was a finance minister. He initiated, it started with 5 services, this telephone services, insurance services, GTA services, and thereafter we saw in the service tax regime itself, the scope was expanded wide, the scope was expanded like anything. Not many new entries were added gradually. And that is what we are seeing in GST regime also. We started with hardly 8 entries in GST, and now the entries have gone up to 16. So the scope is huge. The scope has been expanded. The scope has been widened in reverse charge mechanism. And I would, what I foresee is even further, lot many entries will be brought under reverse charge mechanism. But what is the difference between RCM under GST era and RCM which we saw under earlier service tax era or excise? Was that the one basic thing was there was no reverse charge on goods. Now under RCM, under service tax, under GST, the reverse charge mechanism is applicable equally for supply of goods as well as supply of services. So there are a few goods listed, notified, on which the recipient is liable to pay tax. So this is for the first time happening. We are aware under VAT law, we all have practiced under Maharashtra VAT. There were few goods like cotton oil seed or another there was oil seed which was liable for RCM. Those were goods. But under service tax or even under excise, there were no such concept of RCM on goods. It has been introduced for the first time. Then another difference is about charge of RCM. If we see in the earlier regime, there was a concept of partial charge or joint charge under reverse charge, which is not there presently under GST. Joint charge meaning thereby the supplier as well as the recipient both were liable to pay tax. Percentage was decided. So under works contract, 50% was liable to be paid. The value of 50% tax will be paid by the supplier. The rest of the 50% would be paid by the recipient. So there were few services and very joint or partial charge was also there. But we have not seen such mechanism as of now till date under GST. Maybe time and again if we move ahead and the government may bring such partial or joint charge also under GST. But as of now we don't have. Then another important radical difference which earlier was there and the GST era is provision for reverse charge on URD procurements. This is the one provision which has created a lot of hue and cry under GST, that if you procure any goods or you procure any services from any unregistered dealer, you being the registered dealer, the recipient is liable to pay tax under RCM. And this has created a lot of hue and cry because everything and anything you procure from unregistered dealer was liable to tax under RCM. Such concept was never there under service tax or excise regime. So this was a new concept. We all are aware that this was there from 1st July 17, but it was rescinded or it was kept under abeyance from 13th October 2017. So from 1st July to 13th October, this provision was there. And thereafter the law was amended and this 9(4) was completely amended. So this is a basic difference between the RCM under earlier law and the erstwhile law in the present GST regime. Now the reasons behind the idea of RCM, we all know what are the reasons. There are multi reasons of having RCM mechanism. The first and foremost is that the government finds it difficult to assess or monitor the unorganized sector. There are a lot many unorganized sectors like transporters or many other insurance agents, small agent, and it's very difficult to recover money from them, recover tax from them. So what the government has found it easier that rather than assessing or monitoring this unorganized sector, let us focus on the organized sector who are taking the services from such unregistered or such unorganized sector. So the shift has been on the recipient under the reverse charge mechanism. We all are aware, even under as of now, almost 60% dealers are complying with the compliance of filing of return and all other compliance. So just imagine if all these unorganized sector will also be brought under forward charge, the compliance ratio would have gone down to 30, 35%, 40%. So to do away with this, the idea was bring it under reverse charge. So let the unorganized taxpayers need not pay tax, but the recipient would be paying the tax. Then another benefit is to keep the small entrepreneurs who are doing a small business of 10, 15 lakhs, 20 lakhs below the threshold limit. They need not take registration. They can stay out of the GST hassles and they can do their business. So just not to overburden small dealers for taking a registration and giving them a threshold limit. So you do a business of 40 lakhs, you stay out of GST, there is no tax on you. The recipient will be paying tax on the procurements. Then another benefits like to tax every transaction. Now since we have this basic threshold limit, the intention of the government was that not a single transaction should be kept out of the levy of tax. So what will happen if there is a trader or a manufacturer who is enjoying this benefit of threshold turnover of say 40 lakhs rupees? So he would be doing business of under 40 lakhs, which will not be liable to tax. So the intention of the government was that let this supplies be taxable in the hands of the recipient. And under 9(4), we all know that there was a provision that if you procure from an unregistered dealer, you have to make the payment of tax under RCM. But now this has been done away. So another reason is to have a level playing field between a compliant taxpayer and a non-compliant taxpayer. We know that if government goes seriously and behind the non-compliant, there could be a lot many registrations still can be done and can be get registered. And there will be a lot many taxpayers who are still liable to tax, but they are not compliant, they are not paying tax, and they are out of the tax net, they are evading the tax. So how is it possible to bring them under tax net? It's not possible. So the idea was that the recipient who would be procuring such goods and supply services would be paying tax. So there would be no loss to the treasury. It would be a revenue neutral. The government would be getting the tax from the recipient and if not from the supplier. Then another reason is to provide a level playing field between service provider outside India and within India. Now we all know that if you procure any services from within India, a service provider, he would be registered under GST, he would be charging GST from the recipient and would be paying it in the government treasury. But what about the service provider who are sitting outside India? They are not liable to pay tax because they are not covered under the GST regime. So the recipient who procures the service from a service provider outside India is liable to pay GST under a reverse charge mechanism. Again, this will create a level playing field for the service provider outside India and within India. Then there are many taxpayers who are large number of taxpayers, and it's very difficult to bring them under the tax regime. Say, for example, let us talk about recovery agent or insurance agent. We know in India there are hundreds and lakhs of insurance agents. And if the government would have brought the tax on them, they would have got to register, they would have to comply with the law, they would have to pay the tax, and it would be difficult to monitor, to assess so many taxpayers. So smartly what the government has done, instead of insurance agent, bring it that the levy should be made it on the insurance company, or instead of recovery agent, the levy is on the banking or NBFC company. So it's easier for them to monitor, it's easier for them to assess and to collect the tax rather than bringing many number of taxpayers under the tax regime. So these are a few of the important reasons why there is a need for reverse charge mechanism. And what I personally believe, friends, is that there would be now more and more entries which the government would be trying to bring under reverse charge mechanism, because they also have identified in the last 2.5 years of experience that it's very difficult to manage large number of taxpayers, and it's easier for them to identify the recipients and then collect the tax from those recipients. So the scope will be more widened, the scope and the entries will more and more be added under reverse charge mechanism. So let us understand basically what is reverse charge under GST. So it has been defined under section 2 subsection 98. Reverse charge means the liability to pay tax by the recipient of supply of goods or services or both, instead of the supplier of such goods or services or both. Meaning thereby the tax levy, the charging provision has been shifted from supplier of the goods or services to the recipient of those goods and services. So supplier need not collect the tax, supplier need not pay it to the government. Instead, the recipient who is receiving the goods or services or both is liable to pay the tax. Moreover, there is a charging section, section 9, section 3 and subsection 4 under CGST Act. Likewise, we have IGST also, section 5 subsection 3 and 5 subsection 4 under IGST Act also. So the charging section is also there. So the levy is upheld. It can't be challenged under any provision, because the levy, the charging is there in the provision of the GST law. Then when we will be going into detail of these sections, we will come to know there are some notifications. These are the notifications been issued under those sections, section 9(3) and 9(4) of the CGST Act. This notification have notified those categories of supply of goods and services on which RCM would be applicable. So it's not a blanket umbrella, everything is liable to reverse charge. Only those goods and services which have been notified here will be liable for reverse charge. So if we see broadly who are the person who are liable to pay tax, so we can categorize this person into three categories. First is the supplier. The supplier is the one who supplies the goods or services to the recipient. He charges tax. He charges the tax by collecting it from the recipient and pays it to the government treasury. This is what we call as forward charge. Then there is another category which we are discussing right now, is a category of recipient. Who is the recipient? The recipient is the one who procures the supply of goods or services. He receives the supply of goods and services from the supplier, and he doesn't pay the tax to the supplier, but instead he pays it directly to the government treasury. So that is called as reverse charge mechanism. There is another third category of taxpayers who are neither supplier nor recipient, but they are also liable to pay tax, and those are being notified here under 9(5), that is e-commerce operator. Now e-commerce operator are the one who provides the platform of e-commerce to the supplier who can supply his goods or services to the recipient. So in that case, neither the supplier nor the recipient will be paying tax, but the levy of tax is on the e-commerce operator, and the e-commerce operator has been deemed to be the taxpayer for this category. So he will be paying tax instead of supplier and recipient. So basically these are three categories. We all know about forward charge. Forward charge is the one where the dealer is registered under GST. He supplies goods. He in his invoice collects GST from the recipient and he pays it in the government treasury. That is the first charge of forward charge. What we will be discussing today is about reverse charge, where the recipient won't be paying any tax to the supplier. In fact, supplier has no right to collect tax from the recipient when the services are under reverse charge. And the recipient will be paying it from his own pocket, the tax element to the government treasury, and thereafter is eligible for the credit of the tax paid. So these are basically three broad categories of the person who are liable to pay tax. Our topic of discussion today is only reverse charge, so we'll focus only on reverse charge because the time is very short. Friends, I will spend some time on this slide because I think this is the most important slide of the presentation. If one is clear with this steps, then things will be easy, because what we have experienced in the last 2.5 years, practitioners come and they always face a problem that what would be liable for reverse charge, when would be liable for reverse charge. We are not able to identify, or we are not able to discharge a liability under reverse charge. The reason is we are not aware of the steps. So I feel these 8 steps are the one which we have to mug it up, which we have to be thorough. Then only we can be discharging our liability under reverse charge properly. So what are these steps? First and the foremost is identifying the activity or transaction to be supplied as per section 7. Friends, we all are aware that under GST, the central stage is supply. So if there is a supply, there is a GST. If there is no supply, there is no GST. Supply has been defined under section 7. It's an inclusive definition covering including transfer, barter, exchange, sale, everything. Nine items are there in course or furtherance of business. So what we have to identify first, the activity. What is the activity? Whether that activity falls under the net of definition of supply under section 7. If yes, then only we can move ahead for discharging of RCM liability. If there itself the test fails, then there is no RCM. I will just give you a small example. If you all remember, in the initial days of GST, there was a lot of hue and cry in case of a consumer who, unregistered consumer who is having, say, some old gold or jewelry, and he goes to a shop of jeweler and he sells, he sells it to the jeweler for some consideration. Now the question was whether that jeweler, since jeweler was registered, but the supplier, the consumer was not registered, will the jeweler be liable to pay GST on the procurement of goods under reverse charge? That was the issue. A lot of queries was raised, and thereafter we got a clarification from the CBIC saying that the supply or the transaction between the consumer to the jeweler is not a supply per se, supply as per section 7, because it is not in course or furtherance of business of that consumer. meaning thereby the transaction between of a sale between of that ornament or old jewelry from the consumer to the jeweler is not a supply per se. So this first test itself failed. It is not a supply, so there is no question of RCM. So the jeweler need not pay any RCM on the procurement of goods from the consumer. Though he is unregistered, he was as per section 9(4) applicable that time, he was liable to pay tax, but it is not a supply per se, and hence he is not liable for RCM. This is the first test. Next, moving on, if say for example your activity or transaction pass this test, then you have to move ahead. What is the second test? Whether that supply is covered under Schedule 3. Now friends, we all are aware what is Schedule 3. Schedule 3 is a schedule under section 7, which says though, which mentions 4 or 5 items, which says these are the activities or transactions which would not be treated as supply of goods, neither it will be treated as supply of services. So they are activity, they are some transaction, but they will not be treated as supply of goods or supply of services for the purpose of GST. There are not many activities like employment activity under employment agreement, or supply service of an arbitral tribunal to its member, supply of service by a government. So there are not many entries under this Schedule 3. So we have to see whether our activity falls under this item or not. I will just share you an example. Now for last week, there was a lot of discussion on an advanced ruling of a Rajasthan authority, if you all remember, wherein the Rajasthan authority, advanced ruling authority, has said that the supply of service by a whole-time director to the company would be liable to tax under reverse charge mechanism. We all know there is an entry of a service by a director to the company would be liable to RCM. So that authority has decided on a question that service by whole-time director, managing director to the company would also be liable for reverse charge mechanism. Now my question is, we have to apply our mind whether this authority's judgment or the decision is correct or not. In my personal opinion, I don't agree with the decision of the authority, because one has to see whether the service given by the activity of the service of director, whole-time director given to the company, is it a supply? So we have to see Schedule 3. Schedule 3 first entry itself says that the supply of any service by any employee to the employer under employment agreement is not a supply of goods, neither it is a supply of services. So that activity itself will fail the test of the supply. It's not a supply, and there is no question of any GST under RCM. So I think that that decision we don't agree, and it will be challenged in the higher authority before the appeal authority, and it will stuck down. That is what is my personal opinion. So first two method tests we have seen. Next coming test number 3, that is, first your activity is a supply. Second, it doesn't fall under Schedule 3. Now what next? Next is you have to see whether that supply is exempt from tax. We have from some exemption notification, exemption of goods, exemption of services under GST. We have to check whether that activity supply, now it's a supply because it is passed the test of supply, it's a supply. But whether it is exempt from tax, if it is exempt from tax, then there is again no question of RCM. I will just give you example. Like there are not many services performed by central government, state government are under reverse charge, meaning thereby the recipient of the supply or recipient of the service has to pay the RCM. There is one such service of renting of immovable property. So if any recipient procures a service of renting of immovable property from central government, he is liable to pay tax under RCM. Now my question is, what if the central government provides a accommodation service or renting of accommodation service for residential purpose? Whether again RCM will be applicable? So what my submission would be that there is an exemption notification which says that renting of accommodation purely for residential purpose, used for residential purpose, is exempt from tax. So even here the central government, though providing service of renting of immovable property for residential purpose to the recipient is not liable to pay tax because it is exempted under GST exemption notification. There are many exemption notification, and one has to be carefully analyze all those exemption notification before discharging the RCM liability. So first 3 steps are through, then we are confirmed that okay, this is now the liabilities under RCM we have to discharge it. Then what are the next steps? The first and the foremost is identifying the supplier. This is also very important. what is happening, if when we will detail, we will be seeing in the notification, there are many supply of services which has been brought under RCM, but there are a lot of conditions applied, that who should be the supplier. They have mentioned that supplier should be, say, a body corporate, or supplier should be a central government. In that case, the RCM will not be applicable. Say for example, renting of motor vehicle, it should be only if it is the supplier is other than a body corporate. So if it is a body corporate, there is no question of RCM. There will always be a forward charge, because the RCM is only when the supplier is other than body corporate. Okay, so that has to be clear. In case of GTA, they have identified the supplier has to be a GTA. It doesn't say any lorry operator or a truck operator, only if it is a GTA. So if you are procuring any service of transportation of goods by road from a GTA, then only RCM will be applicable. Next is again identifying the recipient. Likewise, we have identified the supplier, we have to identify the recipient also. Because when we will be seeing in the entries, the recipients have also been identified. So if the service of goods or supply of goods or services are being received by those recipients, then only RCM will be applicable. Just an example, legal service. What it says, legal services received by any business entity. It doesn't say by anyone, any person, any taxable person, any registered person. No, it only mentions about business entity. So the recipient should be business entity. Then only there is a question of RCM. Otherwise, there is no RCM. Then next is supplier operate for forward charge. Now this is something peculiar. We are witnessing it for the first time under GST. That the supplier is given an option that though your services are under reverse charge, but you still can go for forward charge. Okay. Now there are few services like service of renting of motor vehicle or even a GTA. They have given the option that okay, though you are under RCM, but still you can go for forward charge. So we have to be careful whether the supplier is under forward charge. If that is the case, then there is no question of RCM. He is collecting tax from us. He is paying it to the government treasury. Then we need not discharge any liability under RCM, because that is not a RCM. So that has also be taken into care. And the last two are very important: nature of supply, whether it is an interstate or intrastate. Accordingly, the color of tax, C plus S would be applicable or I would be applicable. And rate of tax. Rate of tax, every time we have to be very careful, because every entry has separate different rate of tax. Some it says 5%, somewhere it's 12%, somewhere it is 18%. So we have to be very careful regarding rate of tax. So friends, to conclude these steps, I think these are the 8 steps one need to be thorough before jumping into discharging of our liability under RCM. So we have to fulfill all these tests, then only we can conclude whether that particular transaction is a transaction liable for RCM, and then we have to discharge the RCM liability. So let us now focus completely on the provisions. We'll quickly go through it because we have limited time. First is 9.3 and 9.4. These are the 2 provisions. I will just read out 9.3. It says reverse charge on notified supplies. The government may, on recommendation of the council, by notification, specify categories of supply of goods or services or both, the tax on which shall be paid on RCM by the recipient, and all the provisions of this act shall apply to such recipient. Meaning thereby, what is taxable under this 9.3, it has to be come by a notification. Okay. Then the notification will specify the category of supply of goods or services. What is the service or the goods which is liable for tax under RCM, and the recipient who will be liable to pay tax. And all the provision of this act shall apply to such recipient. Meaning thereby, the recipient will now step into the shoes of the supplier. He will be considered as he is a supplier, and he will have to comply with all the regulation, not only paying of tax, but also getting registered, registration done, filing of return, assessment, audit, filing of annual return, everything, all the provisions will be applicable to the recipient. So first we will analyze the notification. First we will be talking about goods. There is nothing to discuss in the goods. What are these? Are 8 items which have been notified. Notification number 4 by 2017. It started with some 5 items. Thereafter 3 more items have been added. Cashew nut, not shelled or peeled by agriculturist to any registered person. Note here, the supplier has to be agriculturist. It can't be a trader. It can't be a manufacturer. So he has to be an agriculturist, and the recipient has to be any registered person. So RCM will not be applicable if the recipient is an unregistered person. So the recipient has also been fixed as a registered person. Cashew nut, tobacco leaves, BD wrapper leaves, tendu patta. Then supply of lottery by central government, state government. They run lottery under this under a separate act, and lottery distributor or lottery agent who procures those lotteries would be liable for reverse charge and not the government entities. Then silk yarn by any person who manufactures silk yarn from raw silk for supply of silk yarn to any registered person. So again, the recipient has to be a registered person, and the supplier will be the manufacturer who manufactures silk yarn from silk cocoons or warm cocoon, raw silk. Then this has been added from 13th October 2017. Used vehicle, seized and confiscated goods, old and used goods, waste and scrap by central government, state government, etc. to any registered person. Again, the recipient has to be a registered person, and the supplier will be only central government and state government, local authority, as it is mentioned in the notification, not any other supplier. So meaning that by any unregistered person or a registered person supplying used vehicle, then there is no question of RCM. It is only when it is being supplied by central government, state government. So every time you have to remember those 8 steps. You pass all the 8 steps, then only RCM would be applicable. Raw cotton has been added off late from 14 November. Then PSLC certificates. These are the basically tradable certificates between one bank to another. The bank which has achieved a target of priority sector lending, and the one who has not achieved, procures that certificate from the one who has achieved it, and reverse charge would be applicable. The one who is receiving the certificate has to pay GST under RCM. So now let us move, which is a very important topic of services. What are the services which has been notified under RCM in GST, which we have to see in detail, and also along with this notification we will see some exemptions which are also there relating to these services. So first and foremost, widely discussed service is of GTA, supply of service by a GTA in respect of transportation of goods by road. So what is the service? The service mentioned is transport of goods by road. We have to be very clear. Service is transportation of goods by road. Who is the supplier? The supplier is a GTA, Goods Transport Agency. It has been defined in the law. It says Goods Transport Agency is the one who provides services in relation to transportation of goods by road and issues consignment note. These are the 2 basic conditions to qualify. One has to be one as a GTA. In relation to transportation of service, it doesn't say of transportation. In relation is a very wide term. So the transporter agency GTA would be providing a loading unloading service, warehousing service. Even that will be treated as a transportation of goods by road service by a GTA. So who is a supplier? It has to be GTA. And another condition which we have discussed earlier, who has not paid central tax at the rate of 6%, that is 12% forward charge. So if a GTA who is under forward charge, who is registered and who is collecting 12% from the recipient, in that case there is no question of RCM. The RCM will be applicable only when there is no 12% charge by that GTA. Okay. And who are the recipient? The recipient has been identified as 7 categories of the recipient: a factory registered under Factories Act, society registered under Society Act, cooperative society, body corporate, partnership firm, LLP, casual taxable person, and the one entry is of any person registered under CGST, SGST and other acts. This was not the condition under earlier service tax regime. So this has been added. So if you are registered under GST Act, CGST, SGST Act, and you are procuring any services of a GTA who has not charged under forward charge of 12%, then you are liable for RCM under reverse charge. But the condition is that that the supplier should be a GTA, and as we have discussed, GTA should comply with the condition of issuing a consignment note. There is a difference between GTA and a lorry operator. Lorry operator doesn't issue a consignment note, so there is no question of RCM. RCM will be applicable only when the GTA is there. Now the question is, who will be paying the tax under RCM, the consignor or the consignee? So the submission, the explanation given here is the one who pays to the GTA. So say for example, a consignor who pays to the GTA and then ask him to transport his goods to and deliver it to the recipient, the consignor will be paying GST under RCM. While in another case, if the recipient is paying to the GTA, then the recipient would be liable to discharge tax under RCM. That is to be clear. Then there are certain exemptions relating to this transportation of goods by road. The first, what it says, services by way of transportation of goods are exempt except the service of GTA and the courier agency. So GTA, if a service are provided by GTA, it is not exempted, whereas any other transportation of goods by road, say by a lorry operator or a auto rickshaw, if you hire it and say transport of goods, those are all exempt from GST. There is no question of GST. But if it is a GTA, then it is a taxable service, taxable supply. Then another exemption are specifically related to GTA only. So now, even though GTA is providing services, but if it is the service are in the following categories, then also there is an exemption. So meaning, what are those? We will just go through it. First is agricultural produce, then goods where consideration charged for transportation of goods on consignment, transport in single carriage does not exceed 1500, multiple carriage, which called as part load. And for single consignee, it is less than 750 rupees. Then again, transportation of milk, salt, food grains, pulses, rice, these are all exempt from levy of GST. Organic manure, newspaper or magazine registered with the registrar of newspaper, relief material meant for victim of natural or man-made disaster, like we have COVID here in front of us. Any transportation done of this material would not be liable for reverse charge, even if it is being transported by a GTA. Then defense or military equipments, these are all exempted from liability under RCM, even if it is done by a GTA. Another exemption is also there. Of late, it was added under entry number 21A of the exemption notification. It says services provided by GTA to an unregistered person, including an unregistered casual taxable person. So say, for example, a GTA is providing any service to an unregistered person, any individual or a consumer, any unregistered person. Say, for example, an educational institution. Okay, an educational institution providing exclusively exempt service and is not liable to registration under Section 23 of CGST Act. That educational institute is an unregistered person. So the GTA providing service of transportation of goods by road to even that educational institution would not be liable to GST, since it is a completely exempted under exemption and notification. These are the following exceptions to this exemption. Because these are already covered under the compulsory levy, so these are not exempted. Otherwise, any service to an unregistered person would be exempted from the levy. Next service is of legal service. It has been explained, legal service means any service provided in relation to advice, consultancy or assistance in any branch of law in any manner, and includes representation service before any court tribunal. What it says, services provided by an individual advocate, including a senior advocate, or a firm of advocates by way of legal services. So who is the supplier here? Either an individual advocate or a firm of advocates. And the service is legal service, directly or indirectly to any business entity located in the taxable territory. The recipient has to be business entity only. Okay, so if a recipient is a non-business entity, a charitable trust registered under 12 of Income Tax Act, or any other charitable enterprise, in that case, that even the services are being received by the from the advocate, individual advocate or a firm of advocates, even then it is not liable for reverse charge. Then there is another entry of services supplied by an arbitral tribunal to a business entity located in a taxable territory. Again, this arbitral tribunal is nothing but under Arbitration Act, the panel of arbitrators are there. So the services provided by them to a business entity would be under reverse charge. Now we will see some exemptions also there under legal services also. What are those exemptions? Services provided by an arbitral tribunal to any person other than business entity. We have seen in the discussion about arbitral tribunal, only if it is being provided to a business entity, then only the levy is there. And their exemptions are there, any person other than business entity. So if it is being provided to any individual, to any unregistered person, then that is out of the purview of reverse charge. Then business entity with an aggregate turnover up to 20 lakhs. So if it is a business entity, but having a turnover of less than 20 lakhs, not required for registration, then also that legal services RCM would not be applicable. And the third is central government, state government, union territory. They are not liable for RCM. That is completely exempt. This service is exempt. So even if a tribunal is providing service to this category of recipient, then there is no question of tax itself. It is completely exempt from GST. Then same conditions are there for advocate or individual advocate or partnership firm of advocate, giving services to another advocate or partnership firm of advocate, or other than a business entity or a business entity less than 20 lakhs, and finally central government, state government unitary. These are all the services provided by individual advocate or firm of advocate are completely exempt from GST. No question of forward charge, no question of reverse charge. Then for senior advocates, any person other than business entity with an aggregate turnover up to 20 lakhs, and finally that government, to any government, the services being provided by senior advocate is again exempt from GST. So these are exemption notification relating to legal services where there is no question of levy itself. There is no question of tax. Forget about RCM. Next is under sponsorship, services provided by any person by way of sponsorship to any body corporate. See, now we have to be very careful. Who is a supplier of the service? Any person. Now any person, he can be a registered entity, he can be an unregistered entity, no issues. If he's a person registered, or if he's a person supplying service of sponsorship, then there is a levy of RCM. And who is the recipient? The recipient has to be only a body corporate or a partnership firm located in the taxable territory. Meaning thereby, if the recipient is other than a body corporate, say partner, individual, or say any HUF is getting any sponsorship services, in that case there is no question of RCM. The service provider has to collect tax under forward charge and not under RCM. So that we have to be careful. Then there are few services by central government, state government, unitary, local authority, which are under RCM. Renting of immovable property has been exempted, but then they have added it later on that even of renting of immovable property, that will be under RCM. And other services which have been specified, like services by Department of Post, services in relation to aircraft or vessel inside or outside the presence of goods, or transport of goods or passengers. These are not under RCM, meaning thereby in these three category of services, the government will be under forward charge. They will register themselves. They will collect GST from the recipient, and that these three categories are not under reverse charge. Then renting of immovable property is also under reverse charge. So a person procuring any services of renting of immovable property, in that case, the recipient has to pay under RCM. Now this is exemption provided even to the services provided by the government, central government, state government, local authority. The exemption is to a business entity with an aggregate turnover of less than 20 lakhs. So this is exempted. There is no question of tax itself. So forget about forward or reverse charge. Then as we had discussed already, renting of residential dwelling is already exempt under GST. So if a government is also providing these services to any business entity or any other registered person, even in that case, the levy will not stand because this service itself is a exempted service. So we have to be very careful. We have to be very analytical in reaching the conclusion whether the levy under GST is there before just jumping into discharging of the liability. Then from 1st April 2019, these two services have been added under reverse charge. These are related to real estate. We won't be discussing because it's a big Pandora box. Real estate has seen a complete change from 1st April 19, and the taxation regime has gone under a complete change. So these two category of services have been added under reverse charge, where the promoter has to pay tax and not the supplier. Then this is a very interesting entry: services supplied by a director of a company to the said company or the body corporate. And this is not a new entry; it has been there from the service tax regime. And but anyhow, every time we see a lot of the opinion are very diverse opinion we get from authorities. It's a settled law that services under a contract of employment is falling under Schedule 3. There is no question of it's not a supply itself. There is no question of any GST, but still we get few authorities, and not only Rajasthan, but I think there is a Maharashtra authority also which has said that there would be a tax on supply of service from a director to a company. So in my opinion, if it is under employment contract, we have to study the employment contract. What are the duties allotted to the director? What are the roles and responsibilities of a director? And it is as good as other employee. It's nothing but an employment contract, and there is no question of RCM. The next, if you analyze, what about the non-executive director, nominee director, independent director? In that case, whatever the remuneration or the sitting fees or any type of payment made by them, by the company to such director would be liable for RCM, and not the whole time director or the managing director. Whether any services provided by a director to company like renting also fall under this category. Now this is also an issue which there are two school of thoughts going on. Say for example, a director who is not registered, He is not a registered director, and he is having a property which he has given to the company on rent, and the company is running, say, a godown or a warehouse in that property. So whether again RCM will be applicable or the director will be liable for forward charge. For example, director is not liable for forward charge, he is below the threshold limit. Whether the company would be liable to pay RCM, that is the question. Some few say it won't be liable because the category is services supplied by a director. It is in the capacity of a director and not any other services of renting or any other services. But in my opinion, to take a safer side, we should pay, the company should pay RCM. As it is, it will be getting credit of that RCM paid, and to buy peace, I think it's better to pay RCM and discharge the liability. Then there are few others: insurance agent services to insurance company business, recovery agent services to banking NBFC company, then supply of service by author, music composer, photographer in relation to transfer or permitting the use. This is a temporary transfer of copyright relating to original literary dramatic work to a publisher, music company or a producer. So these people would be liable for RCM and not the supplier. Supply of services by the members of overseeing committee. This RBI appoints this committee for overseeing the credit movement. So services of this committee to the RBI will not be liable under forward charge, it is under reverse charge. Then services supplied by individual direct selling agent, DSAs, what we call, other than a body corporate, partnership or a LLP to a bank or NBFC. This has been recently added from July 2018. So here the RCM will be only when the supplier is an individual DSA and not a body corporate partnership. So if it is a body corporate partnership, it has to be under forward charge and not under reverse charge. Then services provided business facilitator to a business banking company or a business correspondent to a business correspondent. This business facilitator and correspondent are the two category of the supplier under RBI, which provided services in relation to banking. Important one, let us come to this security services. It has been added from 1st January 2019. It says services provided by way of supply of security personnel. So the scope is restricted only to the supply of security personnel only, because security services provide many services. It can be in relation to providing CCTV services. It can be in relation to providing detective services, but that won't be covered here. The supply is very clear. It is only and only in relation to supply of security personnel provided by any person other than a body corporate to a registered person. So who is the supplier here? Any person other than a body corporate. So any person can he be registered? Yes, he can be registered. Can he be unregistered? Yes, because it says any person. It doesn't say any registered person or unregistered. Any person other than a body corporate. Body corporate meaning company or LLP. So if a supplier is a company or an LLP, no question of RCM, it will be under forward charge. But other than that, it will be RCM. To a registered person, again we have to be careful here. Who is the recipient? Only a registered person. So say for example, a security services providing security service to a hospital. Now this hospital is not registered at GST because it is providing 100% exclusive exempted supply. So it is not registered under GST. Will that hospital has to get registered? Because we all know in your registration course, you would already seen that the recipient has to compulsorily get registered if he is liable for RCM. Will he have to get registered here? The answer is no, because the restriction, the recipient has been defined only as a registered person. So the services is only restricted to a registered person. If it is provided to an unregistered person, this levy will not stand because this RCM is not there. RCM will be there only when the services are given to a registered person. These are the exceptions which we all know, it's government entities. Now this has again added another service. It is of renting of motor vehicle. Now again, there was some clarification which was sought, and then it came that renting of motor vehicle designed to carry passengers. So very specific service. It's not all motor vehicle registered under Motor Vehicle Act. It is only those renting of vehicle which are designed to carry passengers where the cost of fuel is included. So temporary transfer of right has been given to the recipient from the service recipient provided to a body corporate. So who has to be the supplier here? By any person other than a body corporate. It can't be a body corporate. Any person other than a body corporate has to be a supplier, and who has to be a recipient? Provided to a body corporate only. So if the recipient is other than a body corporate, then there is no RCM. it would be under a forward charge. Another condition here, another option has been given that the supplier can also opt for 12% GST. So a person other than a body corporate has opted for 12% GST, then there is no question of RCM. That has to be kept in mind. Then service of lending securities. So these are 16 entries under this notification which attracts RCM. All these are important, but at the same time, we have to read it analytically and also have to parallelly, we have to take up exemption notification also, which we have discussed here, and have to read it together, whether the levy stands the test of law. Now coming to IGST, it has been notified under notification number 10 of 2017. These 16 are already there. Additional 2 are there. First is any services supplied by any person who is located in a non-taxable territory to any person other than a non-taxable online recipient. So we all are aware that the supply definition includes receipt of supply from any taxable person, from any person located in non-taxable territory to any person other than a non-taxable online recipient. So this talks about receipt of import of services. We all are aware that import of goods attracts GST, customs is also there, IGST also there. Import of services will also attract reverse charge RCM. So one has to be very careful when a company in India imports any services from out of India. Say for example, a company ABC in India registered at Mumbai imports any services from a company, associate company in US of say manpower recruitment or any technical know-how or ERP system, whatever is the service. In that case, that company registered in Mumbai has to discharge the liability under RCM. But there is a small technical difference here. The place of supply has to be India. So if a place of supply is out of India, in that case, there is no RCM. I will just give you an example. A company registered in Mumbai or other company in Germany organize an exhibition in Germany. Now a company in Mumbai sends its 4 of its employees to that exhibition in Germany. It pays registration charges to the company in Germany. Will that be liable for RCM? The answer is no, because the exhibition is in Germany. Only a company sending 4 employees to the exhibition, it is paying the registration charges of exhibition, and the place of supply is out of India, so there is no question of RCM here. So we have to be careful, we have to be analytical whether RCM would be applicable or not. Another service is of services supplied by a person located in non-taxable territory by way of transportation of goods by vessel from a place outside India up to the customs station of clearance in India. So we all call it ocean freight. We all are aware when the shipping line is out of India, the importer is in India, and the services are imported by the importer. When the shipping line is out of India, the importer is liable to pay GST, IGST on the transportation of goods by vessel as an ocean freight. So that was there, but now we all are aware that there is a Gujarat High Court judgment in case of Mohit Minerals, where the High Court has held that this entry itself is ultra virus as it lacks legislative competence, because we were already discussing there is a the issue of double taxation also happening because the prices is including the CIF value. So there was a double taxation, but the Gujarat High Court moved a step ahead and said it is completely ultra virus. And so there is no question of any IGST on ocean freight. So that we have to keep in mind. So this is all about 9(3), a very important levy under GST. Dear friends, let us now quickly go. I think time, Maheshji, we have 10-15 minutes.
Yeah, we are having that many.
Okay, good.
Go ahead.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
So now we have discussed about 9(3). Now we will be discussing about 9(4). Now this we all know, we have all have burnt our fingers while dealing with 9(4). It has created a lot of hue and cry. It says the central tax in respect of supply of taxable goods or services or both by a supplier who is not registered to a registered person shall be paid by such person on reverse charge basis as the recipient, and all the provision of this act shall apply to such recipient. So it was a blanket levy that any person who was registered, if he procures any goods from an unregistered, but the goods or services should be taxable. That was the condition. Then in that case, the recipient was liable to pay tax and not the unregistered person. It has created a lot of hue and cry. It was there from 1st of July to 13th of October 17. Thereafter, it was kept under abeyance. And then from the Amendment Act, GST Amendment Act 2018 has amended this section itself. Now what it reads is The government may, on recommendation of the council by notification, specify a class of registered person who shall, in respect of supply of specified categories of goods or services or both, received from an unregistered supplier, pay tax in reverse charge. Meaning thereby, now 9(4) talks about a notification. So the levy will be brought by a notification, first of all, where the notification will specify a class of registered person who are the recipient, who shall, in respect of supply, again specified categories of goods or services. So not all category of goods and services, only those which are being notified under this notification received from an unregistered supplier will be liable for RCM. So this is the scope has been limited now. It's not a wide scope now. There is a notification number 7/2019, which has been brought under 9(4). This notification is related to real estate transaction from 1st of April 2019. There are 3 entries which has been notified here. First is supply of goods or services or both, which constitute a shortfall from the minimum value of goods or services. We all are aware that now a promoter or the builder from 1st April 19 has to procure at least 80% of the inward supply relating to construction from a registered dealer. And now any shortfall, say that promoter or builder has procured only 70%. So there is a shortfall of 10%. So that 10% has to be paid under RCM at the rate of 18%. That has been mentioned here. Second is cement. Cement, it is mandatory for that builder promoter to procure it from registered dealer only. Not a single rupee of cement can be procured from an unregistered dealer. If you procure something from unregistered, the levy is there, 28% of tax would be attracted. And capital goods also, there is no benefit of 80% or something of that. 100% capital goods and cement has to be procured from registered dealer. If he fails to do, then there is a case of reverse charge under 9(4) and not 9(3). So friends, with this we come to the end of this reverse charge provision 9(3), 9(4). Similar provision under IGST are also there under 5(3) and 5(4). We have already seen there are only 2 additional entries under IGST. Rest is same. We'll just, before we move on to composition levy, we'll just discuss few issues. I think you would be having few queries or few issues. Let us discuss few issues, then we'll be taking up questions also. First issue is tax to be paid by the recipient. My dear friends, the challenge is not only the payment of tax. The recipient is not only liable for payment of tax, but at the same time is liable for all other compliances, be it of registration, be it of filing of return. Not only that, he is also responsible to identify the inward supply. Maybe the supply is unregistered. He has not raised an invoice on the recipient, but it's the responsibility of the recipient to identify the nature of the supply of service or goods, as the case may be. Identify the HSN classification, identify the tax state, and then decide his liability under RCM. So all the onus has been shifted on the recipient. Then there is another compliance, burden of compliance on the recipient, that is of self-invoice and payment voucher. We all are aware under section 31, subsection 3, there are provision that the recipient has to generate a self-invoice where the procurement are from the unregistered supplier. We have seen 9(3), 9(4), most of the cases the supplier would be unregistered. And when he makes the payment to that unregistered, he has to also to generate this payment voucher. So this procedural compliance is also there. Litigation would surely be there if the dealer fails on this procedural procedural lapses. It is not only procedural, but at the same time, the self-invoice is the document for claiming of input tax credit. So whether it will be treated as procedural lapse or a substantial lapse, that will be decided in the further course of litigation when things will settle down. Then ITC available in the month in which payment is made. There is a lot of discussion happening whether the ITC can be availed in the same month itself, or we have to wait for 1 month more and then we can claim the credit. This is because of confusion happening because of the erstwhile service tax regime, where there was a condition that the ITC can be claimed only when on the basis of challan for payment of tax. But here that condition is not there. We can claim that ITC on the basis of self-invoice. So on the same month, say for the month of April 2020, there is a liability of RCM. And if you discharge that liability before 20th of May, you can take the credit itself in the month for the month of adjusting your April liability before 20th of May. So there is no question of waiting for a month of time. Then mandatory registration is there for under 9(3), for 9(3) under section 24. So section 24 mandates the recipient who is liable for RCM under 9.3, he has to mandatory take registration, and once he has taken registration, all the compliance gets attracted and he has to comply. Credit of RCM paid on identifying by department. We all are aware under section 17.5, there is a negative list. It says any tax paid under section 74. So if section 74 is attracted or liability has been fixed under section 74, there is no question of any credit of tax paid. It may be RCM also. So we have to be very careful before the department identifies. We should identify our role and discharge the liability and take the credit. Extension of period. There is a discussion, or rather, in fact, in the earlier regime, there were a lot of judgment also that whether extended period, we all know under section 73, there is a 3 years of time, 74, there is a 5 years of time. Whether that extended period can be applicable for RCM, the earlier law have said it's a settled provision that extended period can't be made applicable because there is no evasion of tax. Had the dealer would have paid the tax, he would have taken the credit. So it's a revenue neutral. There is no loss to the dealer. So there is no question of any fraud or willful misrepresentation, collusion. So that 74 can be attracted. So there is no question of extension of period. Payment to supplier within 180 days. There is a condition to claim ITC. 180 payment has to be made within 180 days. This condition is not there for RCM. So even if you have not paid to your consult legal advocate, or if you are not paid to a GTA for 6 months or a year, even then you can take the credit as it is in the month in which the self invoice has been raised. Can it be discharged by ITC? No, it has to be discharged only by cash. The definition itself says that ITC can be used only for adjustment of outward liability, not including RCM. Then time of supply for RCM is different. We can't go because we have time restriction. RCM was there under URD from 1st July to 12th October. Everyone has to discharge it. From 13th October, it was removed. So there is no question thereafter. Composition dealer, we will see it in the next slide. Even the composition dealer are liable to discharge tax under RCM. So he has to discharge tax under RCM, and thereafter, as composition dealer is not liable, as not eligible for any credit, he will be not eligible for even the credit of RCM paid. Can the liability of RCM be transferred to the supplier? Say, for example, I enter into a business agreement with the supplier, and I just ask him that I won't be paying that RCM, you pay it itself. Can that be done? The answer is no. The charging section clearly mandates the recipient to pay tax, and the recipient has to pay the tax. It can't be transferred to the supplier. Can ITC of wrongly paid RCM be availed? Now, many professionals come to us and they say, if we have just on a safer side, we have paid RCM. Can we claim it as a ITC? So the answer is it's a debatable issue. Can you claim RCM which has been wrongly paid? There was no RCM levy itself, but you have paid it wrongly. Can it be claimed? But there are few previous precedents which have said that wrongly paid tax is nothing but an advanced tax sort of things. You can claim it from as a ITC, and ITC claiming is just a claiming of refund of that wrongly paid tax. And then finally, it has been appropriately disclosed at annual return and then audit. You have to appropriately disclose the RCM liability, because there are a lot of circular also which says if you have skipped the RCM for first year, show it in the second year annual return. So we have to take care of all those instructions from the CBIC which has come from time to time, and properly disclose in annual return and audit. So friends, this is all I have on RCM. I think I have done justice. I have very limited time, so whatever in short time I could deliberate on RCM. Let us quickly go on composition scheme. I know there is not a big issue on composition. We all are very well aware of composition levy. Composition levy, it's not a new concept under GST. We all are aware under even VAT there was composition. Why only indirect tax? Even under direct tax we have 44AUD, 44AE. It's sort of composition that you pay lump sum tax and just all your compliances would be relaxed. So what is composition under GST? It's an alternative method to tax small taxpayers, simplifying compliance and reducing their compliance costs. Features: tax rate is a flat rate, hence there is a reduced liability. Reduced liability meaning thereby the consumer who buys it, he may be the taxes, since it is not reflected in the invoice, that would be there. Because if you are registered under a regular feature, you would be charging 18%, 28%, 5%, whatever the tax may be on that goods or services. But that is not the case under composition. Lump sum tax has to be paid, and he can't collect it from the recipient. Compliance is lesser as compared to regular dealer. We know compliance, the dealer has to pay tax on a quarterly basis, has to file return on an annual basis. So compliance are less, and it is good for only a small time dealers. Not allowed to make interstate supply. The composition dealer is not allowed to make interstate supply. He's not allowed to make interstate branch transfer. He's not allowed to make export. So that are the limitation in this scheme. No supply through e-commerce operator. He can't make any supply through e-commerce operator. That is also there. No collection of tax. He can't collect. He can't raise a tax invoice. He has to raise a bill of supply. He can't collect tax also from the recipient, and also he's not allowed to take credit of any tax paid, be it of input or services or capital good or even RCM. So there is no question of credit. Not allowed for taxpayer engaged in making non-taxable supply. Yeah, this is a condition there, that suppose a dealer who is also engaged in the making of non-taxable supply. Non-taxable means a supply which is not under GST regime. Say a petrol pump dealer is supplying petroleum as well as lubricant. Lubricant is liable to GST, but petroleum is the non-taxable supply. So that dealer can't opt for composition for this lubricant portion. He has to be under regular scheme only. This composition levy is not allowed for him. Then the composition scheme. This scheme is for manufacturer, trader, restaurant from the beginning, from the first day of the levy. Then this scheme was not available for service provider, but then there was a lot of hue and cry happened, and from 1st of April 2019, another scheme has been introduced exclusively for service provider. So even now service provider can opt for this composition levy. What are the rate of tax? We all are aware. Manufacturer has to pay 1%, restaurant 5%, trader 1%, and the service provider is required to pay 6%. This is a combined rate. So 6% means 3% CGST and 3% SGST. One important thing which one has to note here is what is the amount on which value on which this 1%, 5% has to be paid. So this is a total turnover on which it is paid. Only for the trader, this exemption is there, that he has to pay 1% only on the taxable supplies and not on the gross aggregate turnover. So this is there. He is not required to pay on the exempt supply of 1%. The limit of turnover is there for a normal composition dealer. The aggregate turnover in the previous year should not be more than 1 crore 50 lakhs. And for service provider, the limit is only 50 lakhs. Once he crosses the 50 lakhs, he is out of the composition levy. So friends, that is all I have on composition. I think there is nothing much to discuss, and even the time was constrained. So I think that is all I have to discuss on this online coaching. I hope I had added some value to this session. And I have 1.5 hours, 1 hour 15 minutes, which I had taken would have added some value. I'm thankful to GSTP Association of Maharashtra for inviting me, for giving me a chance to discuss with all of you on this two important topic. Thank you, and thank you all of you.
Ritesh bhai,
boliye sir.
You all will agree that it's a marathon, means giving ordinary lecture where all the participants are in front and giving this lecture online. I think means the stamina which is required is really amazing, and hats off to you. You are really good future in future endeavors, because it was very tough, but you have handled it very, means at the stage you are speaking for almost 75 minutes without any break. So that is really commitment, and really very it's a very God's gift you are having. So we, all our blessings and all our wishes are with you. There are certain questions posed by some of the our attendants, and they have given in the chat.
Okay.
So if you go through the chats, you will come to know that what are the questions. Till that time, you can have drink water or anything, because you are continuously you are speaking. So I was also little worried little bit. But hats off to you, sir.
Thank you, President, sir, for the kind words. But my objective was that in the limited time, let us share whatever we can on this. So thank you very much. Let us take queries. I think Maheshji, if we can take queries. I got it on the chat. If I can read out and we'll discuss it.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so the question is from Sanjay Agrawal. He says, sir, has anyone approached Supreme Court or any High Court against Advanced Ruling Authority on tax on director remuneration? So, Sanjay ji, in my knowledge, no one has yet appeared, because this is a very initial stage. The first stage is the advanced ruling. Thereafter, it will be challenged before the appellate authority. And thereafter, the question will be going before the court of law. So as of now, it has not yet been challenged, but surely the judgment is not factually which the opinion which is settled law that whole-time director or director's service would not be covered under reverse charge. It's a settled law. So that it has disturbed this, the ruling has disturbed this settled provision. I think in time to come, it will settle down that the levy is not there. Next is, if one transporter, Nitin Bansal, if one transporter hold many vehicles and also arranging vehicle for client, whether he is a GTA and reverse charge applicable or he should take GST number. If want for forward tax, what rate of tax he is supposed to charge. Now, Nitin, I would just like to add here that this supply of transport vehicle and GTA are two different category of supplies. GTA is the one who is providing services in relation to transportation and also issues consignment note to the consignee or the consigner. So your query, I suppose, is related to renting of transport vehicle. If one transporter holds many vehicle and also arranges vehicle for client, whether he is GTA. So if he is issuing consignment note, then he is a GTA. If he is only renting it, he is renting the transport vehicle, then it is not called as a GTA. It is purely a renting of motor vehicle. If he is renting it to another GTA, then there is also an exemption. Then renting of a lorry or transport vehicle to a GTA is exempt from tax. So in that case, there would be no question of forward charge also. Then next
what
is,
rate? Excuse me. So what rate is supposed to charge
for renting? No, if it is renting vehicle to a GTA, then this service itself is exempt. So there is no question of charging any tax.
See, he is owning some vehicles and as per the client requirement, supply the vehicles for a daily basis, not for a contract.
Who is the recipient?
Is a customer like companies, Asian Paints and
so
all.
it's a company, but the transportation is also being done by those vehicles, no?
Yes, yes.
And that you are issuing consignment note.
Yeah, each and every transaction we are issuing bill and consignment note.
So then you are a GTA. Then if you are issuing consignment note, then GTA.
So what rate I supposed to charge?
GTA,
5%?
see, if you are GTA, if you are registered, if you want to opt for 12%, you can opt for 12% for under forward charge. There is no option of 5% under forward charge. 5% is only for under reverse charge. If you want to go for forward charge, it will be only 12% and not 5%. 5% is only for the company. Asian Paint would be paying 5%, not you.
Sir, is there
Next
any
question is
method to opt for forward charge, or that can be opted voluntarily?
Yeah, you can opt for forward charge. You have to decide whether you want to opt for forward charge or reverse charge. You can't have both the options together. Once you go for forward charge, you have to follow that forward charge. And with 12%, the credit is also available for you as input. So it's basically you have to decide whether you want to go for 12% with input or you just want to stay out of it and let the recipient pay 5%.
But for forward selecting forward charge basis, separate financial year should be there, or within a financial year we can.
No. There is a notification that it can be done only from the first day of the April. So that has to be there. And once you go for forward charge, all the transactions will be under forward charge. Okay. Next is Purushottam Indani. RCM paid in March, then can credit for paid RCM around in the same month or in next month, interpreting rule that once paid. Just a minute. I think this question we have already discussed that there is no need to wait for a month. We can take the credit in that month itself. So RCM which has been paid will be available to us in the same month only.
Right. Yeah.
Then Sujoy Mehta, dealer takes training sitting in India from outside India, is RCM applicable? Dealer takes training sitting in India from outside India. Yes. So outside India, so the recipient of the service is located in India and the supplier is from outside India. So this would be covered under IGST notification and RCM would very much be applicable. If a corporate hospital took a residential apartment for their doctor's staff for residential purpose, whether reverse charge would be applicable. See, the question is if a corporate hospital took residential apartment for their doctor's staff for residential purpose, whether reverse charge would be applicable. So first we have to see whether that hospital is registered under GST or not. Say for example that hospital, since the question is reverse charge, let us assume that he is not registered and that hospital is taking quarters for residential purpose. So this is completely an exempt levy. Even the supplier won't be levying tax because the purpose of those quarters would be for residential purpose of doctors, and it is completely exempt. There is no question of GST on it. Not also forward charge. What if director is getting remuneration from company as per Companies Act, which is well within limit? Whether RCM applicable for company, and also throw light on receipt of rent by director from the company. So this we have discussed. Director is getting remuneration from company. So we have to identify whether that director is a whole-time director, executive director, what is his scope as under defined under the employment agreement, the role, the duties, and if he is a whole-time director, the remuneration getting, though it is under Companies Act also, even then it will be treated as a salary paid to the employee of the company, which would be taxable under the income tax as a income from salary also. So there is no question of any RCM here. Throw some light on receipt of rent by director from company. I already discussed you, there are two school of thoughts. Some say that this is not liable for RCM, but in my humble opinion, we should go ahead and pay RCM even if a rent is issued by a director from the company, as a company can very well take the credit. Then what is the rate of tax under composition if turnover is more than prescribed limit? What is the rate of tax under composition scheme if turnover is more than prescribed limit?
Sorry, sir. I just forgot to mention it is a restaurant.
Okay. So for the restaurant also, the threshold limit is 1.5 crore. So if you cross that limit, you are out of composition completely and you will be under the regular scheme of regular levy. Maybe now for composition, the tax is also 5% under regular also. So hardly there would be any difference under for the restaurant. Even the regular scheme now requires payment of tax of 5% without any ITC. So it is as good as composition only. So till composition limit, it is 5%. Once you cross it, again, it will be 5% without ITC. So I think that is all the questions. If I missed out any question, I will just once again.
No, thanks, Ritesh bhai.
Mahesh bhai,
Yeah, it means the conclusion that
one query is there. If hotel room is booked through OYO agency, who will pay the tax, GST?
Sir, as far as rooms are booked through OYO rooms are concerned, that what we have discussed will cover under 9.5. 9.5 is another provision which talks about the tax being paid by the e-commerce operator, neither the supplier nor the recipient. But there is a condition that if the supplier is registered, then the e-commerce operator will not be liable to pay tax. So the hotel, if a hotel is registered, since the threshold limit is more than 20 lakhs, if he is registered, that hotel is registered, then the e-commerce operator will not be paying tax. Otherwise, the e-commerce operator will be paying tax.
Thank you. Thank you.
So Ritesh,
Sir.
Ultimate conclusion is that if you are having any confusion, you should go for reverse charge map, pay the tax and claim the credit. Right?
That is always beneficial mode, that you pay the tax and claim it credit. But even there is a doubt that maybe department may come and they say that this was not liable for RCM, you have paid it, we will not give you the credit of the same. So, but in the earlier regime service tax, it has been settled now that even if you have paid wrongly, you are eligible for the credit.
Okay, thank you, Ritesh bhai, and hats off to you. The way in which you have handled entire RCM and composition both together in very limited time, which is there allotted. And I am also thankful to all the participants for active participation and very patient hearing. With this, we conclude here, and we are continuing tomorrow also. All the way, Ritesh bhai is all the way from Nagpur. And once this lockdown will be over, we would like to see you in person in Mumbai, sir.
Surely, I have already been at many occasions. I have been there at GSTPM, Mumbai, and other RRC also. But see, the benefit of digital world, the distance is no matter now.
Yeah.
So that is a benefit.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you
Thanks
very
a
much.
lot.
Thank you. Thank
We'll
you.
Thanks,
meet
Ritesh,
tomorrow
thanks.
at 7 o'clock. Thank you very much. Thank
Thank you very much.
Chairman
Thank you
ji.
for your excellent lecture.
And Raj also is there. Raj Shah?
Yes, sir. Mahesh bhai.
Yes.
My regards to Rajbhai Shah.
I would like to hear from Raj bhai.
From this lecture, what I have observed is that Ritesh bhai is from Nagpur. There is one train which runs between Mumbai and Nagpur. That is Duronto Express. It is a
Duronto.
fast train, but I think he was Rajdhani today, faster than Duronto.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the credit. Very apt.
Second, years back, Shankar Mahadevan had released one song of Breathless. Now I think he can release one song on you with the same concept on Breathless. I think you did not breathe even for a minute, even for a second in between in last 1.5 hours.
Yeah, really. It is
It's very wonderful. Good.
it was really tough.
It was really wonderful. I think, Mahesh bhai, we should give more time when topics are such, so that justice is done to the speaker and to the topic as well. And since we are at home, we have ample time with us. So that would enhance our knowledge, and more discussion also would happen. I specifically thank Ritesh bhai for sparing his valuable time, his valuable knowledge with the members of GSTPM. And at the same time, all the members who are present, I request all of them to renew their membership at the earliest for membership, and as well as for GST review subscription. And if those who are non-members, I request them to become members. We would be having more such sessions, and I'm sure this lockdown will continue further for some time. So we would be having more such series in days to come. So we would like to see you again and again. And with this, I conclude.
Ritesh bhai, one of the participants has compared your inning with Sachin Tendulkar's inning of Sharjah against Australia.
Okay.
So that is a good compliment from our participants.
So
Thank you very much,
kind
sir.
of you.
And
Thank
today
you.
Sachin Tendulkar birthday.
Oh, wonderful.
24th April is the birthday.
Okay, very good.
Thank you, all of you. Stay safe at home.
Thank you, and
Go out
take as
unnecessary.
much
Yes.
precaution as
Thank you so
possible.
much.
And we are expecting on after third, we are going to open the office with all positive thoughts and very energetic and motivational
Yes.
these sessions.
Let us hope for the
Okay,
best.
so with loud applause, we can clap at least on the screen here. Come on.
I had unmuted all.
Thanks. Chalo.
Thank you.